Every Breath of the Wild region ranked. In last place is Farron. I absolutely adore the atmosphere of this area. I find it to not have too much to offer. It doesn't have its own race. It doesn't have its own village. There isn't even a divine beast here. Don't quote me on this, but I also think it's the smallest of the regions. And I must bring this up again, but the atmosphere is amazing. Not just the atmosphere, the ambiance too. Makes me feel like I'm in Jumanji or something. I also love the periodic rain cycle. It adds so much to the atmosphere and makes it look so much cooler. I really can't think of much more to say about Farron though, considering how small and minute it is. So to conclude my Farron segment, its atmosphere and ambiance definitely carries it, but its lack of interesting characters and areas make it less good. Still though, it's not that bad. In fact, none of these regions are bad at all. I just find this one weaker than the rest. Move on to Akala. I know this is a really fan-favorited area. Like the last one, it's got a great atmosphere, but it suffers a similar problem to the last. It doesn't have as much to offer as some of the other ones. The reason it's better than Farron though is because it has its own dedicated village. That is of course Tarrytown. And man oh man is this main quest amazing. And watching the wedding with Hudson and... wait, what are their names again? Hudson and Ronson, I think. Bolson? No, Bolson's the weird guy. Hudson and Ronson is just so beautiful. The Akala Ancient Tech Lab is also really cool. This is where you can get the whole Guardian set. This is where you also first encounter that weird skull guy. Fortunately, I can't remember his name, but you know who I'm talking about. The guy who's obsessed with monsters. There's also a lot of Guardians here. I don't know if I'd consider that a good thing or a bad thing, but if you like farming Guardians, then either this or Central Hyrule is the place to go. Moving on is Necluda. Just like Akala, this might be a hot take. Why wouldn't you like it? It's home to Kakariko Village and Hateno Village. Also, is Lurelin Village in Farron or Necluda? I've never actually known that. Nonetheless, this is a very decent area. Also, Eventide Island is my favorite shrine quest in the game. It was very frustrating on my first few attempts though. I'm honestly surprised I didn't put this at first because I have a lot of nostalgia from this area. As soon as I got the Seek Out Impa Shrine quest, I headed right to Kakariko. Also, words cannot describe how interesting it was to finally go into Kakariko Village. After walking through that narrow tunnelish area and seeing this village of people just made me feel like I'd found a new piece of the puzzle. Speaking of Impa, he basically helps you get all your memories back. He tells you about the Calamity Ganon and everything that happened with the Sheikah. It's a really decent area. Hybra. Hybra can be described in 2 words. Cold wasteland. That's what most of it is, but I still have to respect Rito Village. I love the shape of Rito Village and how it's kind of like a bird. And I love how at the end of the game, Vaughn Meadow just perches on it. It's just so cool. I don't know why. But like I just mentioned, it's a cold wasteland. Higher north, you'll just find just snow. This is kind of realistic to what mountains are like in real life, but I feel like this concept could have been used better. Also, I don't know if I'm the only one who's noticed this, but there's like a million major tests of strength up in Hybra. Feels like they couldn't come up with any ideas for Hybra shrines, so they just were like, alright, let's just add a bunch of major tests of strength. I do really like that whole shrine quest with those 7 singing bird girls. They were really cute characters. I don't really like Teba though, personality-wise. It is what it is. Speaking of cold wastelands, is Gerudo. The Gerudo Highlands are quite literally another snow wasteland. I guess there is the Yiga area and the Lionel, but still. Also, it's supposed to be a desert, so why are there snow? Like, I get it, deserts can get really cold at night, but not snow. Or at least from what I think. But Gerudo Town is still really cool. I also love how the only way to get into Gerudo Town is if you dress like a girl. As far as my knowledge goes, I don't think any other villages in the game do stuff like that. I also adore Moldugas. I love their design of like an alligator and how they pop out of the ground and you have to throw a remote bomb at them. It's so satisfying when you actually hit them, and they just swallow the bomb and explode. Now let me talk about the Yiga clan briefly. The whole Yiga clan quest is honestly really interesting. The Yigas are very intimidating characters and you'll see them all throughout the game. Finally being able to go where they are and defeat them is really cool. Next is Lanayru. I don't know how to pronounce it. All of the regions have horrible to pronounce names. Or I'm just not good at English. Yeah, Necluda's really cool, and I have nostalgia for it too. It's the first of the 4 main villages that I went to. It was the easiest to get to. You don't need snow gear, you don't need fireproof gear, you don't need to dress like a girl, but that does make it feel too simple. But still, it's really interesting, and I love the whole race with all the fish people, and I just love Sidon. And it's sort of a mysterious place because it's covered by mountains. Giant crystals, or whatever those things are. And Varuta was also the first of the divine beasts that I defeated. I think it's also the easiest of the divine beasts. Oh, and Mifa's power is also really useful sometimes. I don't know if this is part of Akala or Lanayru, but the Tingle Islands are kind of cool. It makes me wish that Tingle was actually in the game. Next is Eldin. This honestly used to be my favorite, but that's when I was kind of delusional. I think what I actually like about it is its whole atmosphere, because it's literally a volcano with a bunch of rocks. Udania is really cool, and how it's a lizard and it just walks across the whole volcano. And Unobo also has a really funny personality. He's a really clumsy fat guy. I mean, all of the Gorons are kind of fat. Anyways, yeah. I feel like it's missing a bit, but it's still pretty good. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention Gut Check Rock. It's surrounded by a big hot spring and it's kind of hidden. And once you get to it, you're kind of confused and you want to know what's at the top. The top is this Goron guy. And he gives you this quest to collect a bunch of rupees while you climb a mountain. It's a really weird quest, I think, and it doesn't really match the Goron vibe, but still, it's pretty fun. And speaking of the hot springs, those are really nice because they heal up your health. Hot springs in Hebra too, but no one cares about Hebra. Next is Central Hyrule. I shouldn't say next, I should say last. Central Hyrule is the best region in Breath of the Wild. I'm not really sure if people agree with me on this, but it just has so much content. Castletown ruins surrounding the castle is a little boring and bland, but it's supposed to be like that, because it's a rundown place surrounded by a bunch of guardians. Speaking of Hyrule Castle, this is where it's at. Hyrule Castle is almost like a maze. It's so interesting, and there's malice everywhere that you have to clean up, so many enemies, so many weapons. Even the final battle is here. This is also where you start and end the game, which I feel is just perfect. You start at the Shrine of Resurrection and end in the Hyrule Field fighting off Dark Beast Ganon. Korok Forest is also here, which is an amazing area filled with so many interesting things to do. Anyways, thanks for watching.